Hey, welcome to another episode of Tech Talk. I am your host, Jeff Hootselle, Chief Cloud Officer at Auditmacs. So today on Tech Talk, we're always talking about the latest and greatest in technology. We're talking to some of the most prominent leaders in that space, and today's no different. Happy to say we are blessed to be joined today by Jason Raymond. Jason is the Chief Information Security Officer at GuideWell. So Jason, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. Really excited to be here.
It's great. So we can go a bunch of different areas. You're a busy guy. We see you out there in the news a lot. I watched you in a documentary on TV like a week ago. That was kind of cool.
That's the STEM program. Yeah, we're very excited about the work STEM's accomplished in our local communities around building talent. So
yeah, it's a great thing. It's a really greght program. But I know, so first of all, one of the things we've talked about a lot, especially when we get into kind of these series about healthcare in particular, is just the state of IT in healthcare, specifically for you with security. A lot of threats out there today. Like, what does that landscape and that environment look like?
Today, healthcare is definitely a big target today. And, what we've seen a shift right now is that, in the past, there was a lot of fear around stealing data.
Right.
And of course, that's still a very important element of what we do in information security is protecting our members' personal health information, right? But what I think we've seen the shift in is that what we call the bad actors, they're realizing that it's more and more difficult to not only steal that information, but the value of stealing that information is becoming more and more difficult for them to monetize that.
Right. So instead of selling the data just straight out, you're seeing different ways they're trying to monetize those threats.
Well, they're having trouble selling the data, right? So what they're doing now is we've seen over the last 18 months, and maybe even a little longer, a significant shift towards social engineering and phishing and ransomware. And because at least with that, they take advantage of the human psyche. They know that they can send a bulk load of email into an organization, and it only takes one person.
Right.
And then from a deployment of something like Ryok or BitPayer, which are two prominent malwares we see out there today, if that organization is not equipped to defend itself, it deploys the ransomware and generally puts them in a position where they can use Bitcoin, which is not traceable, and monetize very quickly versus going through a lot of reconnaissance work at the chance they can breach the organization, at the chance they can exfiltrate the data out of the organization, and then once they have the data, they have to go out to the dark web and sell it like on a paste bin.
Right.
And if there's not a buyer, then they're not going to sell.
It's all wasted effort.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now is that more? Are you guys seeing that more event-driven in healthcare? So I think about times of the year when people are expecting those emails to come out from their healthcare provider or hospital. So things like open enrollment. Is that a time when you'd see things like that, or is
yes, I'll say that cyber criminals are very inconvenient.
Right.
Some of the in the industry, some of the attacks from the past was dedicated to calling into call centers, doing some social engineering to get passwords reset and email accounts changed, and then leveraging that to do EFT records or EFT transaction fraud.
Yeah.
Other ways, as you alluded to, it's open enrollment season for the entire healthcare industry. So any payer out there is in open enrollment. This is kind of what we call our Super Bowl, right? And what we're seeing and recently have seen that they're going after the service providers that provide the services to help the payers through the open enrollment process. And there's been some recent events that have taken place that have impacted the industry using ransomware.
Yeah, and I know you live in this every day, and I know you're part of a task force actually now that was created by the state to really address cybersecurity in that space. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, what I always say is cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Today we are so reliant on technology. We are reliant on social sites. We are oversharing our personal lives. We are putting smart devices in our homes. Our cars are, have full computers sets in them from a technology perspective. And now you also have the state, which houses a lot of citizens' information. Right. And I commend Governor DeSantis for his choice to look at how do we modernize technology for the state? How do we increase our threat resiliency? And putting this task force together is one very big step into achieving those goals. And I'm honored and excited to participate.
That's great. I'd imagine you start talking about how you even begin to start addressing that. As companies are watching this and they're thinking about their plans as it comes to security and just where the easiest, kind of weakest links are today. Is that just education? today as far as putting a plan together to just on a basic level? So we talk about the phishing attacks and things like that. Is it just people understanding, hey, here's how we might be exposed?
Yeah, I think that our greatest weaknesses in many cases is the human element of our organization when it comes to cybersecurity. Over the years, the technology has become more and more sophisticated at protecting the perimeters, but humans make mistakes. We all do, right? And I think that what they've learned is it's a lot cheaper and more efficient to go after your employees versus try to get through your perimeters.
Right.
I think education is a huge component to combating that, but I also think there are other technologies that we're looking at as an organization that will help us be what we call more social, more resilient against social engineering.
Sure.
There are newer technologies coming out to help with that human element.
Yeah. Well, and so you mentioned earlier, you talked about the documentary you're on for the STEM2 Hub that you're part of now, and talk a little bit about that. I mean, part of this is just getting good people available to help these companies and having the talent available for it. How is that mission with the STEM2 group kind of playing into that?
So, depends on what you read, but I'll cite a statistic that I've read where they say by 2021, 2022, there'll be roughly 2 million cybersecurity positions unfilled.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
So from our perspective, it's very, very difficult to find qualified cybersecurity professionals. And I commend Gary Chartrand, who founded the STEM2, and Kathleen Schofield, who leads STEM2 on the work that they've done over the last several years. And I've been honored to be part of that board and to see where we started to where we are today, where we have technical skill job exposure to, in many cases, our at-risk youth. Yep. And we've been able to bring those programs to all of the surrounding Northeast Florida counties, from robotics to cybersecurity to code.org. And it's really taken off, and now they're even looking at expanding throughout the entire north part of the state, which is exciting. It's
a pretty amazing program. I mean, it's something that I had a chance to sit in one of the board meetings not too long ago, and just seeing the passion behind it from folks like yourself and Kathleen and Gary and the rest of the folks. Jennifer from our company is involved with that as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Jennifer and David, absolutely.
It's amazing, especially the level you're starting at. It's not just catching kids in college or high school. It's starting at really the base level. Kids in elementary school, exposing them early, getting more women in technology. You said some of the at-risk folks getting them in technology as well. It's a great thing. If folks don't know about it, I would actually encourage them to go watch that documentary. It was fantastic.
No, it's a great organization, and we're really happy to see the county, the school systems come together, see the value in it, and embrace it. And like Andrew Jackson High School, right? They were one of the early adopters of this program. They have a superior cybersecurity program. They have a superior coding program. And it's something that now a lot of these schools are visiting Andrew Jackson just to see what they've accomplished there.
Sure. Well, it just opens up a whole new world of opportunities for those kids.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, what else? Anything else in the world of technology you're focused on now and that you guys are excited about?
We're focused on right now making sure that we, as a healthcare industry, are able to provide services to our clientele and make sure that we are as thoughtful and diligent as we can be for protecting their information. So there's lots of technologies I'd love to talk about, but
how much time you got, right?
Yeah, how much time do you have to have that discussion?
Yeah, no, it's a great time to be in technology. We talk about that all the time. There's people doing really interesting stuff. We appreciate all the things you're doing now, especially with the stuff in the community and some of the things we talked about in the industry. So definitely happy to have you on today, and appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for asking me to join.
All right, great. Well, guys, thank you much. That wraps us up for another episode. Jason, thanks again for joining us today, and thank you guys for watching.